Hi, I'm Beverly Harzog. You may have heard of a secured credit card, but you might not be completely clear about how it differs from an unsecured credit card. An unsecured credit card is the kind of credit card you think about when you think about a credit card, the kind that everybody has in their wallet. It does not require a deposit as long as you have at least fair to almost good credit. But what if you have zero credit or you're rebuilding your credit? Maybe you can't qualify for an unsecured card that doesn't have a lot of fees and high interest rates. That's where a secured credit card comes in. You do have to put down a deposit, but this lowers the risk for the credit card issuer so that they're willing to take a chance on you. Deposits range anywhere from about $100 up to over 1,000. It depends on the credit card issuer. They all differ with terms and fees. But as long as you make your payments on time, you do a good job with your secured credit card. If you're with an issuer that also likes to graduate its card holders to unsecured cards, you were on your way to rebuilding your credit or establishing credit for the first time. And when you get an unsecured credit card, whether it's with the same issuer or a different one, as long as you do a good job, you'll get back your deposit. Before you start researching secured credit cards, and by the way, when you do, I want you to get on several different credit card comparison websites because they all have different credit card offers. That's right. And some of them will have offers for the same cards, but they might be different. So that's an insider tip for you to be sure you get the best offer you possibly can. But before you start researching, I want you to pay attention to a couple of things as you're starting to go through the rates and fees for secured credit cards. I want you to look at the APR. Now, they're going to range from about 27% to 30%. Okay, there is one that is way low. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute when I talk about my secured card recommendations. I want you to look at the fees. The ones I'm going to recommend have no annual fees, but many of them do. Find out what their policy is for credit limit increases. This is important because your security deposit is going to become your credit limit. So let's say it's $200 deposit, that's your credit limit. But if you do a great job, they might come back a few months later and say, okay, we're going to raise your credit limit to 400. So you want to be sure you make all your payments on time and look at their policy. How often are they going to take a look at that? For some, it's 3 months. For some, it's 6 months, just so you know what to expect. And the amount of the security deposit will also differ by issuer. The most important thing is that they report to all three major credit bureaus. That's Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. That is how you build credit with a secured credit card. If they don't report or only report to one credit bureau, it's not effective for you. So do keep that in mind as you're reading the fine print. Let's talk about a couple of card recommendations that I have, and it's based on an unusual history that I've had with these cards. So about 8, 10, maybe 12 years ago, I was once known as the secured credit card queen of the internet. And this is because I had a blog and a newsletter, and I reviewed secured credit cards. Nobody else was doing that at the time. And it kind of made me mad. I felt like people who were trying to establish credit or rebuild credit were being left behind. So I started doing that, and I reviewed every secured credit card that launched. And I kept this list, and after a while, I thought I've got so much information, I should rank the cards. And so I did. And each review had hundreds of comments on it. The only reason I stopped was because I started working for US News and World Report in 2018. I couldn't keep doing those reviews because I was being paid by US News to talk about credit cards for them. And I recently thought, well, I should be talking about these cards some because they are a great management tool for building your credit if you use them the right way. There are a couple of cards that I really like, two in particular, and ironically, the number one card when I ranked all of these cards is still number one. Number two is the card that was still number two all these years ago. Don't worry, I did look at everything again to make sure they're still great cards for you. And then I've got a wild card, an extra option just in case you can't get approved for the first one or the second one. And it is possible to get rejected for a secured credit card. Some of the major banks don't like to see a bankruptcy within a year of applying for a card. But every credit card issuer is different, and some of them make exceptions, some of them don't. Let's take a look at the two top secured credit cards. The Discover It secured credit card was always number one. One of the reasons it was because they had great customer service. They were very good about graduating people to one of their unsecured credit cards. And I really liked that about them. As long as you make your payments on time, don't carry a high balance or get into any trouble with your card, you have a good chance of graduating to an unsecured card with Discover. The APR is 27.24%, which is in line with secured credit cards. There's no annual fee. They report to all three major credit bureaus, deposit of at least $200. But here's something I noticed in their fine print that was not there 10 years ago. After 6 consecutive months of on-time payments, you will be considered to graduate to an unsecured credit card. That is fantastic. Number 2 on my list is the Navy Federal secured credit card. It's called Cash Rewards. It had a different name back when I had it number 2. So the Navy Federal secured card requires membership in the Navy Federal Credit Union, and you are eligible to do that. You are a current or former member of the military, a Department of Defense employee, or you have a family member who qualifies as part of the military or the Department of Defense. And this is a great card. The APR is 18%. There's no annual fee. They report to all three major credit bureaus. You could open a savings account and deposit $200. You can go as high as $5,000, but please don't do that. You can build credit without putting a huge amount of money into a deposit account. After 3 months, they consider you for a credit limit increase. That's if you do everything right, on-time payments, and they will consider you for an upgrade to an unsecured card after 6 months. So those are two great cards. But let's say you can't quite qualify for the Discover It card and you're not eligible for the Navy Federal. I have a third option here, the Open Sky card. And they have 3 different credit cards. They report to 3 bureaus as well. No credit checks. The security deposit and the annual fee depends on which card you get. If you get the card that has no annual fee, your deposit is $300. If you get the card that has a $35 annual fee, it's a minimum of $200, and the interest rate is 24.64. I'm tossing in Open Sky because I know many people who could not qualify for the Discover It secured card, and the Open Sky was a very good option for them. And they also have an unsecured card that you can possibly graduate to with on-time payments. It was fun for me to go back in time and talk about secured credit cards. I still don't see a lot of unbiased reviews. Honestly, I don't have affiliate relationships with these credit cards. So you're getting my unbiased review of these cards as a consumer advocate. And I've talked to so many card holders over the years. I have a good feel for credit cards. So if you've got any questions at all about secured credit cards, please leave me a comment. I always respond. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.